the tech person. I'm recording. Again, welcome to this night's event. This is LinkedIn Local Philippines, and this is our second virtual panel discussion. The first one was held last year because of the pandemic. So LinkedIn Local is actually a global movement that started in Australia in 2017. The person who started this was Anna McAfee. So you can see po in the presentation. She's actually in my network, and what I saw her did was she invited her connections to meet over coffee. Apparently, they haven't met each other. So she posted a message, and then people liked it. And when people enjoyed seeing each other and meeting over coffee. And because of that traction that she got, she had four other co-founders at the time. Two of them were from the US, one of them from the UK, and one of them from Belgium. And in just 1 year, you will see here that five LinkedIn local events were held in 500 cities and 80 countries, and that includes the Philippines. So, paano nakarating ang LinkedIn local sa Philippines? So, this is what happened. So, since I saw her inviting her connections to have coffee, I thought maybe I wanted to do that. At that time, I already had like 10,000 followers, but I wasn't really leveraging my network. And at the time, I wasn't sure if someone would actually want to have coffee with me. So, but I tried. I tried as well. I remember I used a Google Sheet right there back then. And then I asked my network, especially those who are from Angeles City, where I am based. I asked them, would you willing to have a coffee with me and others who will be interested in joining? And fortunately, there were 14 who signed up, and then 12 of us showed up. And ito po, this one that you see, this is very intimate, very casual, but I really enjoy this. And you will notice that one of our panelists right now is also part of the very first LinkedIn local meetup here in the Philippines. And after that, 2018, nag-grow na yung LinkedIn Local Philippines. We started hosting events in different areas in the Philippines, and also other LinkedIn members started hosting events as well. So we had, of course, LinkedIn Local Angeles City, LinkedIn Local Clark, LinkedIn Local in Makati, hosted by LinkedIn Talk Group, and Spaces. We had LinkedIn Local BGC, hosted by Cassie Pajarillo, LinkedIn Local Subic, hosted by Jeanette Kahukom, and also in 2019, we started holding LinkedIn local events in campuses. So we started having LinkedIn local campus tour. And it's really interesting, to bring experts to universities to help graduates with their career choices. And so now, 2019 yon, 2020, as you know, it's pandemic. So there were no events. And what we did is to hold LinkedIn local virtual panel discussion. And this is the second one. I am super excited po, and I hope that you're excited as well to meet our panelists today. So this is our topic for today, how to boost productivity, drive team performance, and increase team engagement to thrive in 2021. So we have um, seasoned and experienced executive and leadership coaches. But I'm not going to talk about that because our moderator for the night will be talking about this. I'd like to introduce to you our moderator for the night. Our moderator is Casey Reyes. I met Casey also through LinkedIn in 2018. Casey is a real estate consultant who placed seventh in the nationwide real estate consultancy board exam just last year by the PRC. Casey is also the vice president of Young Entrepreneurs of Pampanga. A beauty queen, a former beauty queen herself, is also a managing partner of MF Reyes Realty and former president of City of Angeles Toastmasters Club. Let's welcome our moderator for the night, Casey Reyes.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Miss Virginia Bautista, my good friend. And of course, I call her very fondly the queen of LinkedIn Local Philippines. Do you agree, guys? Yes. Yes, we do agree. And it's always, of course, it's been almost a year since we started working from home due to the COVID-19 pandemic, right? And we all deserve a pat on the back for being able to adjust to the new norm of working. But still, for many organizations, the lack of face-to-face interaction, which we have been used to, makes driving team performance an ongoing challenge. We've invited three of the best executive and leadership coaches from the Philippines to share their insights to help you in your continuing journey to navigating the next normal by enabling your team not only to survive the pandemic, but to thrive during the pandemic here in 2021. So guys, sit back, relax, and collaborate as we unravel LinkedIn Local Philippines, how to boost productivity, drive team performance, and increase team engagement to thrive in 2021. Of course, we'd like to welcome our dearest business leaders, key executives, directors, managers, individuals who lead and are part of high-performing teams. We would also like to, of course, welcome our dear panelists whom we'll later on introduce. And of course, we'd like to acknowledge the presence of the United Architects of the Philippines, Makati, Ayala Triangle Chapter. Palakpakan po natin sila. Let's clap our hands for them. United Architects of the Philippines, Makati, Ayala Triangle Chapter is one of the youngest and among the 181 chapters of the United Architects of the Philippines. Since its chartering on July 24, 2018, UAPMATC has now 28 young, urban, and independent architects who are committed to promote excellence and safeguard the architecture profession in the country by creating, engaging, and relevant activities tailored as supplementary professional development for each member, thus enabling them to become better, active, and well-informed members of the organizations. So let us give a big round of applause for them, especially for their chapter president for the fiscal year 2020 to 2021, which is Architect Dexter Omnes. A round of applause, please. Not yet here? Okay, so maybe he'll later on join. And at this juncture, of course, I'd like to introduce to you an empowered woman whom I met also on LinkedIn, who will introduce our panelists for tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, she is a marketing manager at IA Mops, a cloud computing services company based in Tel Aviv, Israel. She works directly with key executives and specializes in social media marketing, marketing operations, and lead generation. She has also been teaching English as a second language, or ESL, for nearly 10 years. Friends, ladies and gentlemen, let us clap our hands for Miss May Quizon.
Woohoo! Woo! I'm so humbled and awed and so grateful to see all of you here to join the second LinkedIn Local PH. Who's excited? Woohoo! Okay, I'm here to introduce to you our great, seasoned panelist. Okay, let's start. Our first guest panelist is an executive leadership and peak performance coach. He is the co-founder of 2mm Club, whose purpose is to help leaders and professionals learn how to make small 2mm changes that can lead to exceptional results. Okay, he has 15 years of progressive experience across a broad range of leadership in diverse industries, including hospitality, banking, insurance, automotive, and BPO sector. He is a certified global leadership coach. He's a Marshall Goldsmith certified executive coach. He's a communication coach, a motivational speaker, a distinguished Toastmaster, and he's a division director of Toastmasters International District 75. And tonight, he will be sharing how effective teams deliver purposeful results, from reactive to productive. Let's all welcome Coach John Todorovich. Hello, Coach.
I feel like there is a lot of list on that page. The list is endless. I was hoping that there would be like one sentence that Miss V is gonna put there is like restless knowledge seeker. That's all I need. I don't need the accolades. The reason why I say that, I have to just interject is because of what we're going to be facing tonight and what I'm going to be discussing later on. Unless it's my time to talk.
Oh, okay. Let's hold it. Let's
Okay.
introduce our second panelist. Okay. Also joining us today is an amazing woman. So she's globally recognized executive coach, and she's been coaching leaders and C-suite executives from Fortune 500 companies and top 100 corporations like L'Oreal, HSBC, VDO, Delaware, Japan Tobacco, Western Union. Okay, he has 11 plus years of experience coaching top level executives, and he's coached 500 plus leaders from various industries, from real estate, telecoms, consulting, to banking, IT, and etc. He's the first Marshall Goldsmith certified coach in the Philippines and one of the Gallup certified strengths coach pioneers in the Philippines. And he is given the second highest distinction by the ICF, which is the professional certified coach. So tonight she will share key strategies to managing a high performance team. Let's give a big hand for Coach Anda Guseko. Hi, Coach. Okay. So, again, is Coach here?
Yeah, let me check May. Chanda said she's in the waiting room, but I can't see her. Maybe, yeah, let me check.
Okay, sure.
Maybe we can proceed to the third one. There's no one in the waiting room, but she's here. I'll check.
Okay, we are so excited for Coach Anda, and equally excited, like I am a basketball fanatic. So I was starstruck when I first saw him and to be with him in one screen. Okay, so all you basketball fanatics. Okay, our third and last, but definitely not the least, guest panelist helps CEOs and leaders become future fit. He is also the former head coach of Gilas Pilipinas. I watched that. He has led the country's national team to its first basketball World Cup in 40 years. He made a comeback recently to become the PBA as a head coach of TNT Tropang Giga. Okay, more about this coach, founder and president of Coach Com, certified global leadership coach, certified agile management and scrum coach, Marshall Goldsmith executive team coach. He's a licensed John Maxwell team builder, and he is the former president and CEO of TV5. He belongs to Marketing in Asia's 70 rising personalities and one of the top 100 Filipinos we all should follow on LinkedIn. Okay, so here to give his take on how to increase team engagement and thrive during this pandemic, no other than Coach Chot Reyes. Woohoo!
Good evening, good evening. Thank you for that intro, May. Thanks for the invite. I'm happy to be here. Looking forward to sharing.
All right, so there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, our panelists. I know you guys, as I am, cannot wait to start and learn. We have a lot of things to learn and conversations to enjoy. Oh, hi, Coach Anda.
Hi, hello. Thanks for having me. Sorry, I was having problems. I think logging in earlier. I thought I was just in the waiting room, but anyway, I'm here.
Okay, we are so excited to learn from you and see you. And so let's get started. Let's dive right in. Let's call our first speaker for tonight, Coach John Todorovic.
Scroll, scroll, stop. Click, click, stop. Work, work, stop. Does that sound familiar? Did you ever see your teams, your employees, yourself maybe doing that constantly? If you have, then you're no different than me, because that's what I went through as well with myself, with my teams, with people that I know, with the companies that I work with, which is being reactive. Being reactive is just simply living the life that was thrown at you, not living the life that you want to live. And typically when it comes to companies that have high-performing teams, that is completely opposite. And today I'm gonna share with you 5 little tips, 5, only 5, I think that's enough, that you can use for yourself and your teams to really kickstart the delivery of the results, regardless of whether you're going through challenging times or not. Many people say that because we are in challenging times, we're experiencing all these difficulties. Yes, I agree. I also agree that even before the challenging times, we were doing the similar thing, maybe on a lower scale or on a smaller scale. And that comes to the point of that reactiveness. Why do we react to so many things? Why are we so reactive? Well, over those 5 little tips, I'm gonna reveal kind of a progression, jumping from reactive to productive, and how you can translate that into high-performing team, or even average performing team that's better than the average performing team today. Everybody's struggling with one thing nowadays, and that is, can you guess what it is? Starts with the letter A. It's called attention. Everybody's fighting for our attention. We live in the best, worst time possible in the history of mankind, humankind, womankind, any kind, just because everybody's vying for our attention. Everybody wants a little piece of us. That applies in the workplace, outside of the workplace, in communities, or anywhere else. The worst thing is that when we sell our attention for the little dopamine. And that's what happens to our team members, whether they are working from home or working in the company. The challenge is keeping that attention focused on the right thing. And there is a simple way to overcome that. This may sound strange, this may sound familiar to some, but I would like you to have a selective attention. That's tip number 1, have selective attention. There is an old saying that says, whatever you focus on expands. So if your teams are focusing on the wrong things, those things expand and they overtake the time, they overtake the efforts, they overtake your mindset and everything else that follows. And to overcome that, make sure that you develop clarity. Know where you are and know where you want to go. That works in individual basis and team basis. So if you want to move forward, make sure that you know which way is forward and not back or not stationary or anywhere else. One of my all-time favorite people in the world, Tony Robbins, nicely put it, where focus goes, energy flows. It's such a profound statement. And for you to really discover where that focus goes and where the energy will flow sequentially, ask one important question. Having that selective attention, you can translate it into a question, what is it that you want to focus on? You can ask yourself or ask your team, what is it you want to focus on? And that way you will really capture that starting point. Where is your attention? Where are you focused on? And what are you doing with your life? What are you doing within your company, outside of your company? Because every single thing that you do affects the team performance. Here's why. If you think that you have heard about the work-life balance and that is something that you might be striving for, I would highly recommend that you look into the work-life harmony rather than balance. Work is part of life. If you're gonna separate those two, you might be struggling over a long period of time and you won't discover what you really want. To achieve that, there is something even deeper that you can do that I would like you to do in the future, starting tonight. Tip number 2, be strategically ignorant. How does that sound? be strategically ignorant. Many people say, oh, you cannot be ignorant because ignorance is not bliss. Well, here's the deal. Because of the times that we live in such challenging times because of the information overload, we end up wanting to know everything. Me included. I want to know everything that's happening around the world, everything that's happening in the industry, everything that people are doing, the teams are doing, the companies are doing, and I end up knowing nothing. Almost everything that's thrown our way is a distraction, including when we work from home, when we work in the office, or when we do anything in life. What you want to do is to be informed on less and less. Really strategically ignore the things that don't bring any value to yourself and to your teams. And that can disseminate all across the company, from bottom to top, from left to right, from top to bottom, anywhere you want. Focus on what matters the most and ignore all the other noise around you, because there is so much noise. I understand it's important to be informed, to stay in the loop or what's happening around the world, but it's often unnecessary information. Be ignorant of all these excess information. And one of the activities or practices that I do on a regular basis is that whether I work early in the morning, whether I work in the afternoon, whatever time I choose to work, I make sure that first 1 to 2 hours of the day, I do not use my phone. How easy is that? Can I see some hands up? Can you say, yes, I can use no phone for the first 2 hours of the day? Anybody? It might be a ridiculous request from me. I can tell you that I've done it, and most of the people that I've coached have done it, which means that it's doable. It's up to you. You can choose what to do. And here's the reason why that is crucial. We are wiring our brain for scatteredness when we decide to pick up our phone the moment we open our eyes. Your brain is at the top level of peak performance in the first 2-3 hours of the day, when you wake up, when you're fully awake, when you're really present in the moment. And the moment you start scrolling, your dopamine levels increases, and all of a sudden you just end up in an endless loop of scrolling. That same applies when you come to work. You can see your team. What are they doing the first thing in the morning? Checking their emails. Are the emails the most important thing to do at work? Sometimes they're not. And the moment you start opening those emails, it's an endless loop of opening up emails and opening links and opening other stuff. I always postpone opening emails to the later stage of the morning, probably before lunch or no earlier than 11 a.m. Some people might work on a different schedule. That's totally up to you to decide. Just make sure that you choose what should you ignore. So on the second part, on the second tip, the question should be, what should you ignore? Once you decide really to ignore those things, then we can go into a little tighter things. And that is how to get your teams to really decide what needs to be done. And to do that, tip number 3 is to develop prioritization. This might sound like some cliche and something that you've heard a million times. Unfortunately, it's real. No matter how many times I've heard it, no matter how many times other coaches have done it that I've talked to, it's the same thing. People do not prioritize things. And to do that, what I found the most effective being is getting the team or getting the company or getting individuals to capture everything that needs to be done on a master list. Just a whole bunch of things that need to be done. That's the first step. Don't think that you will do everything and that you need to do everything. That is a choice, of course, that comes later on. Whether you need to do it on a monthly basis, on annual basis, monthly basis, weekly basis, daily basis, create a master list. As I said, that applies to individual performers and teams. Because when you have high-performing individuals and they are all aligned towards those same goals, the outcome will be extreme productiveness, effectiveness, you name it. Once you do that, you may have heard of an Eisenhower matrix. We often hear that we should not focus on the urgent things, we should focus on important things and vice versa. Dwight Eisenhower really put it neatly into that matrix. Combined with a master list, you will decide what is urgent and what is important and what is not. If something is urgent and important, make sure you do it as soon as possible, meaning right away. Do not postpone it. If something is important but not urgent, make sure that you allocate time for it. And I will explain to you how to do that later on. And also, if there is something that's urgent but not important, see if you can delegate it. There are a lot of things that we can delegate and we choose not to because either we don't trust our people or we do, but we're not sure if they can perform well. Well, the moment you start empowering them, you will find a lot of success in it. And once you find the last piece of that puzzle, neither urgent or important, get rid of it as soon as possible. It's not necessary. It's not supposed to be on that list. Now that you have that master list and you have the priorities, urgencies, you can look into even more effective methods that I already use, and most of the companies that I coached are already using. It's a simple acronym, OKR, Objectives and Key Results. John Doerr introduced it in the late 1990s, early 2000s to Google, and that's what made Google who they are in terms of productiveness and delivery of the results, purposeful results. Objectives and key results are very simple. The objectives are what your team wants to accomplish. The key results are how to accomplish those things. It's as simple as that. And I highly recommend that you have no more than 3 to 5 objectives per team, per individual, or per company per year, if possible. Those big aspirational goals, or the BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals, whatever you name them, make sure that they are really targeting what you're trying to achieve. And then trickle it down. Whether it's on the team level or on an individual level, that can all align. It's not mandatory, but it's very much doable. And once you understand that developing prioritization is important, ask yourself this question: what do you want to prioritize? Simple question. Maybe, maybe not. Once you figure out what you want to prioritize, it's time to really figure out something that most people still believe they're doing well, and that is managing their time. Time management is already a highly overlooked skill. People are focusing on emotional intelligence, they're focusing on critical thinking, and sometimes we forget that we all have 24 hours in a day. To manage those 24 hours, people often resort to different strategies, different approaches. But one thing that I really love the most, and it works massively, delivers massive results for people like Elon Musk or Bill Gates or even Cal Newport, it's called time boxing. That can work on an individual level and on the high-performing team level also. Time boxing is very simple. You allocate time blocks or time boxes for the specific things that you want to achieve. And if you want to do that effectively, you need to audit your day first. List down everything that you do within a day. For example, tonight after this meeting, sit down and write on a piece of paper everything that you have done today, and write down how much time you've spent on it. And then do the same step every day for the next week. Make sure that your team follows the same process so that you are all on the same page. Once you figure that out, you can start allocating time boxes in the coming days, which means that once you allocate it, once you schedule it, you stick to the schedule. And that way you will be able to maximize your performance and eventually realize that the question you should be asking, where do you want to spend your time? And you'll be able to answer that once you have audited your day and figured out what you want to do. Everything that I've said so far, these 4 things are really high performance, pulling out the best out of yourself, out of your team. And there is one crucial element that's always missing out of the picture and the story, and that is recovery. Maximize recovery. Many people say, oh, I don't need to sleep, I'll sleep when I die, including me. I used to say that 15 years ago. It's okay. I can work for 12 hours, 14 hours a day, which I used to do when I was in hospitality. 12 to 14 hours a day, that's insane. Who does that? Well, I've done it, and I've realized that I can accomplish 10 times more if I recover well. And to do that, you have to give yourself plenty of time for that recovery. The more you recover, not lazy recover that you do nothing all day, purposeful sleep, no distractions. Remember what I told you at the beginning of the day? No phone in the morning for the first try to do 30 minutes first, then increase it to 1 hour, maybe 2 hours, if it's possible. If not, it's okay, 1 hour is sufficient. The same applies in the evening. Can you go to your bed without your phone? Anybody? Can you go to bed without your phone? If you can, or if you can try, please do. It's amazing. You will feel refreshed in the morning because your eyes, your brain will not be stimulated with the blue light that's coming out of your screen. Even if you have that nighttime mode or whatever it is that eliminates the blue light, it's still scroll, scroll, stop, click, click, stop. Never ending story. When it's out of sight, it's out of mind. It's as simple as that. That includes TV or anything else that can distract you. Just go to bed and sleep. That's what the bed is made for. Another thing, of course, but we'll stick that on the other side. So the last question that you should ask yourself, how will you improve your recovery? How will you improve your recovery? The 5 tips that I've shared today with you are very simple. Have selective attention. What is it you want to focus on? Be strategically ignorant. Who or what should you ignore? Yes, even who. Develop prioritization and simply ask the question, what do you want to prioritize? Utilize time boxing, or where do you want to spend your time on? And maximize recovery. How will you improve it? And how will you improve yourself? Once you have those things aligned, keep track of the progress and you will be surprised by the results within a couple of weeks for yourself, for your team, and for your company. And then let me know. Send me a message on LinkedIn. I would love to hear your feedback on it and how you progressed further. If you have any other questions for what I've said today, we'll have a little more time after the other 2 coaches complete their sessions also, and I'm excited to hear more from you. Back to you, May.
All right. Thank you very much. Wow. So did you take note of that 5 tips that Coach John gave? Okay, if you have questions, reserve it for later. So let's go to our next panelist. Okay, so Coach Anda, are you ready? We are so excited.
Yes, I am. Yeah. So I'd like to share with you 5 strategies. So 5 is also my favorite number, like John. So 5 strategies on how to really build a high-performing team. So one strategy that you need to focus on is purpose and goals. So that really goes together because a lot of times we plan for what our goals are, like in terms of numbers, what we want to achieve. But what gets us to achieve our goals is the how and the why. And if we're not clear on what that why is, it's not going to be motivating enough for us to want to achieve that goal. And you've noticed also during this pandemic, it's just really hard to sometimes motivate ourselves and motivate our teams as well. So in doing that, I can give you some tips on how to do that. First, you have to clarify what your goals are. And then from the goals, you have to come up with, why are we doing these goals anyway? And an example is maybe we're doing this goal so we can have an impact on the customers that we have. And example, I was helping a client, and he's an architect. And their main goal is we want to be able to build homes for lots of Filipinos. So there has to be an underlying purpose on why you do things. So there are 2 kinds of purpose actually. The purpose of the group, and there's also your individual purpose as well. So the way to do that is, let's say if you're a team member or if you're a leader of the group, you have to think about, how is my individual purpose connected to the bigger purpose of the group? And if you're very clear on what that is for you, on why you're doing things, on why this goal is so important for you, you will want to do it. And as a leader of a team, you have to go into a discussion also on, why is this goal also so important for each and every member of the team? And in coaching, I find this very important because a lot of times when I talk to leaders, there are some tasks that we don't like to do, but we have to do it because it's part of the role. And if we connect that to what's important for us on the why, then it's going to make us want to do even the things that we don't like doing, because it's all tied up to the impact that we want to create. So that's the first one, to be very clear on your goals. tied up with purpose. And like I said, not just on the organizational or group purpose, but you also have to think of your individual purpose as well. Because I always tell people we're not robots. That's why we want to have a meaningful life. We want to be able to not just, like I say, produce or be mechanical about it, but what's going to keep us going is that why, is knowing why we do certain things. The second one is for me, I was helping a lot of people do this, create norms, team norms. And what do I mean by team norms? Team norms are the behaviors and the values you want your team to have. And this has worked very well. So last year in the pandemic, when I was coaching leaders, it was a different kind of a discussion because they were saying like, oh, so much has changed and so many things are happening. I don't know how to motivate my team anymore. And I can't even read them. I can't even feel them because I can't even see them. So it's also good to take that step back and ask yourself, if pre-pandemic, there were certain things that were working for my team. Maybe this time things have changed. So with change, you have to realize that you cross a line. A lot of times, in our minds, we say like, oh yeah, we've changed, we've moved on, we've moved to another part or another kind of environment. But you have to see that whenever there is change, there are things that you have to let go of. There are things that are not effective for you anymore, but there are things that are that maybe you can continue doing. There are things that you can stop doing, and you need to be very clear on that. And the thing is, as a leader, don't keep it in your head. You have to have a conversation with your team, with the people around you, with the people who work with you, and just come up with norms together. An example of a norm is communication, and because communication is so important. And you have to say that, okay, so, like it's important for us to be able to just say if we're struggling with something, if we have a hard time doing something, and just, say it out loud and ask for help. Or another important part of communication is it's important at this time that we get feedback from each other, if we're able to really support one another, and feedback on the areas that we need to work on as a leader and as a member of the team. So it's important to just define what those important things are. So I just gave an example, communication, but as you're thinking about this now, think about your own team. What are the important things you want your team to have? But what's also important is, as a leader, it's not just coming from you. You need to be able to think about also what is important for your team. So putting that together, then you're able to create team norms. So I hope that's clear. The team norms don't only come from you. And because it's called team norms, it's something that you have to create together as a whole team. And that's so powerful. So if you're able to create that, that creates really the culture of the team that sets the stage of what this whole year is going to look like for all of you, despite the challenges. So the team norms is something that you can hold on to. And it's also very similar to purpose. It's an anchor to, to challenges and difficult times. It gives you direction on where you want to go. Again, I love always focusing on the how. I mean, goals are very important, but the how and the why is the most important thing. Okay, so another part that you need to, the third tip I want to give you is that you have to be able to look at the strengths of your team. And so what I mean by strengths, each person has their own strengths, and I'm sure you know that as well, but you also have to look at the roles. And from time to time, revisit the roles as well. And so when I coach people, sometimes I find that they're in a different phase in their life, and they're wondering, should I just continue doing this this kind of a role, or should I shift to another role? So you have to be clear on what your roles are. And you have to know, am I using my strengths with that role? And your role, if you're a leader listening, is to be able to have a conversation and have a check-in with your team members and make sure that, are they really thriving in their role? Or are there things that they feel that they know certain strengths of theirs and that they're not able to use? And also having those continuous conversations, coaching conversations with your team, helps them also think about, am I really in the right career? Am I just forcing it? Or maybe I should move to a different group, department, or do a different role altogether. Because when you're creating a really productive and high-performing team, you want to make sure that people are in the right roles. And like I said, sometimes the role you applied for in the beginning of your time in the organization may have been maybe changing. And last year during the pandemic, so many roles have been changing. People wanted career shifts. So it's really a good time to have that conversation that, are you happy with your role? Are you in the right role? Does it help you feel engaged? And if you do, how can we bring out your strengths more? So having a strengths conversation is very, very important. So the way to do that also is to make them talk about their strengths, and also maybe sharing with them what you notice about their strengths. And what that does is, even if they're aware of what their strengths are, when you're able to share and tell them what you notice about what their strengths are, it gives them a wider perspective, and it really helps them maximize that role. So so that's the third one already. And then the fourth one is structure. So to be able to build a high-performing team, you have to think of, is my structure the right structure? Last week, I was coaching a leader in an organization, and he realized that the reason why his team wasn't as effective this time was that the structure wasn't working for him anymore. The company wasn't hiring any people. They were very very lean already. That was the direction of the company, just to cost save. But the cost of that also was that they weren't an effective team. People are just so tired. So you need to take a step back and ask yourself, is the structure of my team working like it was before? Or maybe I should change the structure to make it more effective. One tip I can give you also is that when you're thinking about structure, maybe you have initial ideas, but my suggestion is to share your ideas with your team. Maybe you can tell them, okay, these are my ideas on the structure. What do you think? Because they're the people on the ground, and they'll be able to tell you, oh yeah, if you do this structure, this is what's going to work. This is what's not going to work. So really have a conversation with the team. I'm very big in conversations because it takes away assumptions. It really helps when you talk to each other. It really builds great ideas. It helps you really understand each other better. So have that conversation with them. You're not alone. You have your team to help you. And so the fifth tip that I wanted to give you is to do check-ins. And you've been hearing that word a lot, check-in, during the pandemic. So you have to check in with your team. But I'm also talking about a different kind of check-in. So the check-in also is to make sure that, are we still aligned with our goals? But again, not just the goals, but even to having a conversation of, okay, we're aiming for this goal for this quarter, for this month. What are your challenges in achieving that goal? Or what's getting you stuck? And in coaching, what I do is a lot of behavioral coaching. You see that at the top, they're having a hard time achieving their goals. That's just the tip of the iceberg. So what you need to do is find what's causing that. And you'll find that there's a behavior or a belief connected to that that's stopping that person from achieving that goal. And that's really all about performance. If you're able to go deeper, and from the iceberg, you're able to go deep down and really find out what is causing him or her to behave that way. That's the true motivation and true beliefs of a person. And sometimes the beliefs and motivation we carry, the beliefs that we carry rather are things that may not be working for us. So as a coach and as a leader, as coach, it's helping our team really understand where that could be coming from. So regular check-ins are important. Again, not just talking about the targets, the numbers, the goals, but also asking them questions on the how. Because if you're able to ask people on the how, you're able to unlock them. You're able to find out what's making them tick and what's going to really make them perform. And those are the gaps that you need to find. And because the environment changes, you need to be able to do those check-ins with them once in a while. So for me, like I suggest major check-ins every quarter, but it's also good to do check-ins once a month. Check-ins could also be like in a team setting where you're checking on everyone. But if you just stick to team setting, that's not going to work at all. You have to be able to do one-on-one coaching. And the strategic way to do it is, if you have one-downs, coach your one-downs. And maybe if there are other members of the team, and that's many, you can coach them once in a while, or you can have what I call like kamustahan sessions. You have coffee sessions, virtual coffee this time, with other members of the team. But the ones you have to coach often are your direct reports. So the people directly under you, if you coach them once a month, check in on them, just 1 hour, 30 minutes to 1 hour, then you're able to find out really, well, what's causing all that, what's in their heads, what are they feeling, what's going on, and how can you help them. So it's as a leader, the last message that I want to leave you is to be able to be that people manager and to create people strategies that will support your team, to be able to think of ways on how to help them, and that's customized for each and every member of your team. So get to know them better, have those conversations, and do those 5 simple tips I mentioned, and you're going to be able to create a high-performing team. That's it.
Okay, wow. I hope you all got those 5 key strategies. Thank you very much, Coach. And some people are sending their questions already, so we can't wait for our panelists to answer, but hold up, we have our 3rd panelist, okay, Coach Chot Reyes.
Yeah, good evening. 5 years ago, I was very fortunate to be invited by Nike to run a program for kids, underprivileged kids around the Philippines. We called it Nike Rise. We took underprivileged kids all over the country and we housed them here in Manila, trained them to play a couple of games against collegiate superstars. And then Nike decided to surprise my kids by flying in a guy, I think you know his name, LeBron James. I think you might have heard of this guy, the king, the GOAT. So they flew LeBron to work with my kids and play a game with the Nike Rise kids. So the day of the game, LeBron flies in from the US. He goes straight to his TV interview, media function, press con. After that, he visits the Nike outlets in BGC, in Ayala, SM, all the places. 7 o'clock, the game starts. So LeBron has come off the plane, done all of these things. 7 p.m., the game starts. Plays a game with our kids. The game ends at about 9 p.m. So at 9 p.m. at the dugout, the game was held at the Mall of Asia Arena. I said, it's okay, LeBron, the game is over. You've got the night to yourself. You can relax, have dinner. You can do whatever you want. There's no more schedule left for you today. I was surprised. Nakaupo lang si LeBron dun sa dugout. He was just seated in the dugout. He wasn't moving. Sabi ko, anong gusto gawin nito? At about 9:30, LeBron asks his head of security, it's all clear? The guy says, yeah, it's all clear. At 9:30, LeBron James leaves the dugout, goes back to the Mall of Asia basketball court, the stadium. There are no more people. Everyone has left the stadium. There's no more lights. There's just one house light open, almost completely dark. Very faint light is open. And 9:30, LeBron James goes through his regime. Jump shot, jab step, free throw, medium range jump shot, 3-point shot, sprints, back and forth, as if he were playing a championship game in the NBA for 1 full hour. No cameras, no lights, no audience, just LeBron James by himself on his vacation halfway around the world. That gave me a glimpse to the greatness of this man. Sure, he has some athletic talent, God-given ability, but his discipline, the regimen, ladies and gentlemen, discipline is what you do when nobody's watching. For him to do that, he didn't have to do it. It was his off season. So I asked him later, very sheepishly, I approached him. I said, LeBron, why did you have to do it? And he says, Coach, I can't demand from my teammates the best if I don't demand from myself the best. You see, there's no I in team. That's an used cliche. There's no I in team, but there is I in win. And that begins with me. That begins with me. Teamwork, building teams is from me to we. So to the leaders in the audience, it all has to start from you. I mean, if there's one thing you take out of this, it has to begin with you. You have to model it. You have to model the behavior, the effort, the hard work, everything that you're asking from your people. And I saw that firsthand in LeBron James. And that was a very special moment for me because, as you know me now as the former national team head coach. I've won some championships, some awards in my career, but very few people. We're all millennials here, right? You all forget. You don't know where I started. And I get that question all the time, Coach. I just had it, in fact, today on a direct message on Instagram. Coach, I want to be like you, and what should I do to be in your position? And I said, do you want to be fired 3 times from your job? Are you willing to get fired 4 times, to be jobless, to have a time where you don't know where your next meal is going to come from? Ano yung papakain mo sa anak mo? And you know the price of being fired from your job, right? It's not only the financial aspect, but it's the hit to your self-esteem. Yung parang wala kang silbi sa buhay na to, di ba? One day you're a hotshot big time coach, next day you're nothing. And I said, I've been there, I've done that, I've been through that. And that's why I can relate to the plight of our fellow Filipinos today. Because I've been through that situation. Our business today, we have the country franchise for Tony and Guy Philippines. We came within a millimeter of losing it all. If the lockdown had stayed for a month and a half more, we could have lost it all. And this is what we bring as coaches. We are not only professionals, we are practitioners. In our craft, when we talk to you from experience, from education, from our profession. And that's what and what we find is the value of just consistently building teams around you. Today, the individual heroic model of leadership, it no longer works. Information deluge, the quickness, the pace of change today. What we need to do is to build teams of leaders. That's what it means to go from me to we. So dear leaders, everyone on this call, there's 70 plus of you here. Are you willing to do the work like LeBron James does? What are you doing when nobody is watching? I think that's the starting point of all great teams. Then you can confidently go out and be the real leader that you want to be. The other question I get often after my talks or my workshops is, Coach, in this work from home setup, how can we trust our people? How do we know that when the camera is off, after the video is off, that they're working? They're not just nagbubulakbol or just naglalakwatsa lang sila dyan. And I thought about it. I said, we can't. There's absolutely no way we can find that out. We cannot. I don't know how we can trust our people that way. So I thought, why don't you just flip the question? Ask a better question. Ask instead, what can I do as a leader to increase my people's trust in me? Because the more my people trust me, the more engaged they will be and the more productive they will become. So dear leaders, forget the question about ano pang gagawin ko, how can I track the progress, and how can I check that my people are working. We can't. You can get all the technology in the world, put several cameras in their house, they will still escape. And they alam mo naman tayong Pinoy, maabilidad tayo, di ba? We will always game the system. But instead, ask yourself the question, what can I do for them to increase their trust in me? Because when that happens, their engagement level will go up and their productivity will increase. In my experience, I've won championships, I've lost championships, I've gotten some big rewards, and I've been fired from my job. And what I found is that in teams, some things that they don't teach you in business school, a whole is better than an a-hole. In teams, I will repeat, having a hole in your team a lot of times is better than having an a-hole. And I'm sure you know what I mean, right? Sometimes we're trying to tolerate this person. Sometimes this person is just getting in the way. And we all have difficult people in our team. There is no team without a difficult person. But there is a different kind of person who's really out to undermine everything we're trying to do, who is just consistently, intentionally trying to be a jerk. There's no place in teams for that. And you will say, well, we need that role. Who's going to do that? Ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you, a hole, better to have a hole than to have an a-hole. Because that a-hole is going to pull you down. that a-hole will just wreak havoc on your team. So don't settle. Make sure you're able to make those decisions, those hard decisions, because we are coaching not only that individual, we are coaching the team. We are coaching the team. So I think that's a very, very important lesson that I have learned that they don't really teach you in school. I have also learned that if you don't change for the team will change you. If you don't change for the team will change you. And that's why I've been through that experience, being fired from my job. The last thing that I wanted to say, and Coach John and Coach Anda had alluded a little bit to it in the one-on-one coaching, in the engagement with our people, your leaders, with your direct reports. We all do business process reviews. We all do business plan reviews, right? Marshall Goldsmith teaches, how about an LPR, a life plan review? A life plan review. Have that one-on-one with your people and not only talk about their career or their work, but talk about their life. Quarterly, if possible, monthly preferably. Have that life plan review. John Maxwell suggests 6 questions in that life plan review. He says, ask them in that one-on-one dialogue, very simply ask them, do you know where we are going? Do you know where we are going as a team? Number 2, how about you? Where are you going? Number 3, what do you think you're doing well? Number 4, do you have any suggestions for improvement? Number 5, how can I help? And number 6, what suggestions do you have for me to be a better manager or a better leader for you? Those 6 questions, powerful questions, life plan review. And you will find our people, they are really pining, they are looking for provocative conversations. Those deep one-on-one conversations with their boss, with their leader, with their manager. That's how you increase engagement. Flip the script, ask a better question, demand the best from yourself, make sure you are putting in the work, have that life plan review. And you will find when that happens, you're going to see that you are going to be able to thrive in this environment. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, in this work from home, our hybrid system situation, the more important teamwork is. The more the remote the work is, the more important teamwork is. So we are the 3 of us are here to sit on this panel to field your questions. I'm sure you have a lot of questions to ask. So fire away. We're going to go up and try to answer all your questions. Thank you.
Awesome. Well done, coaches. Coach John, Coach Anda, and Coach Chot. We can only be in so much awe of all those learnings and insights. And at this juncture, of course, I know everybody's excited to ask and fire away those questions. So the floor is now open for questions. I think there were some people who already chatted earlier, so I'll just read some questions from the earlier chat. So from Boom San Agustin, he or she said, I don't know what the gender is, but the question is, what would you do if you simply inherited your team? How would you structure an existing team? Anybody from our panelists who would like to answer this question?
I can answer that. So if you inherited a team and you don't know them, the first thing you need to do is to go sit with them and talk to them. And that's why coaching conversations are important, for you to get to know what are their personal goals, or what's their purpose, or what are their strengths as well. Because the problem is, if you don't know them, everything is going to be jumping into assumptions. So you want to make sure that you do know them well. And as you get to know them more, as you experience working with them more, you can add to that list of things you know about them. But I think initially, there has to be that conversation that you're having with them to be able to know how to structure your team. So I think that's going to give you a clue on where, if people are happy where they are, or they should be in in another role, or how should you really structure the entire team. So, and you're probably going to get people that you get along with, who get you, but there are also going to be people that you get that won't get you, are very different from you. So those are the people that you also need to pay close attention to. You need to connect to, in difficult conversations, my tip would be to understand where are they coming from, what do they need, and finding out also their why. So the more you do that, there's more compassion, there's more empathy for people that you can't seem to understand, or you have difficulties with. And I think it's really making sure that you understand not just the strengths, but also the gaps and challenges of the individual members of your team as well.
All right. Thank you so much for that clear answer to that question, Coach Anda. So communication is key. Knowing where your teammates are coming from, definitely. So there are already some questions that have been present before our webinar for tonight. So I'll read some questions out loud because I think these are really very interesting and thought-provoking questions that, of course, we'd like to hear from our dear panelists. So number one question is actually number two, because the earlier question was number one. So how has the pandemic changed the way leaders drive teams for different generations, from the baby boomers to the Gen X to the millennials? So I think brother, Coach John Todorovic can actually answer this. Coach John?
Most of the people are always dividing generations, and sometimes that might be a mistake. When you are clearly identifying that that generation is behaving in a certain way, if you lead great conversations and ask great questions, you will find intersecting points of all the generations. And that's why I always recommend cross-generational coaching or mentoring also, which is a two-way street. So if you have a leader who is a senior leader or a seasoned leader, and they have on an equal level, they have a younger leader, get them to mentor each other, get them to develop conversations in between them so that they will understand whether it's challenging times or not. It's still the same principle. The pandemic only pushed our limits. That's all there is. We still had challenges before pandemic. We will still have challenges after. And if we're gonna do that on a cross-generational level, we can achieve that by finding intersecting points where any generation can learn from any generation in terms of leadership, in terms of communication, and in terms of how teams perform better. It's often placed in a way that the seasoned person or a seasoned leader has to be in a certain position, and it's always a challenge if the younger leader is on a position above them or below them or on the side, and that often creates friction. The last thing you want to have is friction when it comes to high-performing teams. High-performing teams don't have bad friction. They have good friction. They help each other progress. They're like those little gears, little cogs that turn together, and there is no friction there because it's properly lubed up with important conversations.
There you go. Well done. Thank you so much, Coach John Todorovic. So it's an intersection and harmony amongst all different generations. So it is very valuable to connect with the different generations in the organization so that we can be united and we can collaborate very well. And so the next question is from Andy Banson. Any tips on trying to connect with a teammate who doesn't like talking or having these difficult conversations? I think Coach Chot, the legendary Coach Chot, can answer this.
If they don't want to talk, there's nothing you can do about it. But the first thing that the only way you can connect really for every leader, if you want to get a tip on how to connect, very simple, connect. A lot of times, if we're being very honest leaders, we are just using that as an excuse. And I'm sorry, I'm just speaking, I'm just giving real talk here. Let's just not make an excuse. If you really want to connect, you will connect. And there's so many ways. There are so many ways to connect today. The question is, do you really want to connect, leader? Are you willing to open yourself up? Because the problem with connection, the problem with trust, is it opens yourself up to that trust being betrayed, to that trust being thrown right back at your face. And it's difficult. That's what we call emotional labor. That's the emotional labor of leadership. So the question, leader, is do you really want to connect? Or you're just using this pandemic as an excuse? Because if you really want to connect, you will find ways. That's number one. Number two, if you had a good connection and good trust relationship even before the pandemic, there shouldn't be a problem now. But if you really had no connection and you really had no relationship before this, then that's really going to be a very difficult proposition at this point. But having said that, my number one tip, just you need to have that courage, you need to have the desire really in your heart to want to connect. And then you can find so many ways. Give him a call, have a virtual coffee, talk about other things, talk about personal things, ask about the family. There are so many ways to connect. If that person doesn't want to talk, then that's just going to be then you just have to find other means. You have to find out what is important to that person, what is his passion, what is he excited about. There is one thing about that person not wanting to talk because that person is shy or an introvert, or that person, again, I go back to my earlier point, if it's really an attitude problem and that person really doesn't want to put in the work, then you have to make a difficult decision. That's now where your leadership maturity comes in.
Can I add to
amazing.
Can I add to what Shot said?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Go.
So I think also what you need to ask yourself, if you're having difficulty approaching someone who is very different from you, you need to ask yourself, again, why am I doing this? Why is this so important for me? And how is this going to help me if I'm able to connect with this person? And it's not just about you. And how is this also going to help that person if I connect to that person? Because sometimes with difficult conversations, we only see the small things. We don't think of it, like take a step back, look at it helicopter view. And if I start in thinking about it in that way, if I start reaching out, how is this really going to help my team, ourselves in this conversation? How is that going to even, maybe it's going to even show that what kind of a leader you are. So if you're able to reach out and have a difficult conversation with someone, that means it shows a good example as well. So you have to find the deeper meaning of why you're doing that. Like I said, you can't just do that, but you have to be able to find always the reason why. And the second thing I just wanted to add also is that to be able to connect with someone, it's, I do this, I think I shared this also in LinkedIn as well. You have to be able to do like a profiling template. So you have to be able to profile the person that you're talking to and speak in their language. Because a lot of times, like say in meetings or in conversations, we don't realize that we're speaking from our point of view and what's important for us. But if you do a lot of listening, you'll be able to really speak in that person's point of view. You'll be able to customize your message to their language, not your language. And that's going to make them gain their trust and respect for you. And so that builds a really good relationship already. Because the reason also why we have difficult conversations is we're very different from each other. And maybe that's why there's some communication gap because of our differences. So you have to be able to, the first thing you have to do is start connecting to what's important for them and take it from their point of view. Yeah, that's it.
Wow, very nice insights. Thank you so much, Coach Chot. So Coach Chot said, don't make any excuses. Just do it, as Nike says, right? And for Coach Anda, listen and empathize with other people and make sure that you really intently listen. Do not just hear them, right? And now we go to the next question. Any of the coaches can answer this. Lizelle Barameta says, how did you figure out that you are already on the right job or right path of your career?
For me, it's very simple. Oh, sorry, John. Well, for me, it's very simple. It's just passion and purpose. Some people, they prefer working from their passion, some with for their purpose. But the sweet spot really is when their passion and purpose overlap. And there was actual research that has been done. If you're working in the in the overlap of your passion and purpose, you are supposed to be at the 84% percentile of the workforce in terms of productivity. If you're only working towards your purpose, you are about 60 percentile. And if you're only working in the area of your passion, that number goes down to about 18 or 20%. So the sweet spot is that area where you are, where there's an intersection or the overlap of your passion and purpose. So I guess an example is just in what I'm doing. My passion is coaching and building teams, whether in sports or in business. And my purpose is to help develop the next generation of Filipino leaders, men and women who can lead their organizations not only to make a profit, but to make a difference. So what I do now is a perfect intersection and overlap of my passion and that purpose. And that's why I love what I'm doing. And as you know, recently I've been asked to come back and coach TNT again in the PBA. Same thing. And I think going back to the PBA gives me a bigger platform to be able to further my advocacies. So that's just the way I think of it. And I don't know what John and Anda can have to say about it.
Yeah, I guess that one of the differences in understanding that doesn't come right away. I started off with a dream of becoming a mechanical engineer working in BMW. What does that have to do with me living in the Philippines and being an executive coach? Almost nothing. I mean, my passion went from one end of the world to the other. I come from Serbia. I come from the other end of the world where standards are different, culture is different, behavior is different, people are different, and yet a lot of things are the same. And through those 15 years of my progression, I realized what I wanted. And what I wanted was to be able to ask purposeful questions. That's why I love coaching. And that's why I found my passion in coaching. Once I discovered that I don't have to give answers to people, but when I help them find their own answers, I was like, and that was my aha moment where I realized like, okay, I can help people succeed by helping them find their own ways of succeeding. Since it always brings me back to one statement that my wife told me many years ago. I am not you. And that was the end of it. That was the point of my transition into understanding what my real purpose in life is, what my real passion is. And I eventually ended up here on stage with Coach Hut and Anda. Don't expect that moment to come just like that. It's gonna take years. Sometimes it might take a few decades. Eventually you will find it. And that moment you will realize that the entire universe has conspired to help you succeed in life. It will come.
Oh, I love that. That's Paulo Coelho.
Yep.
Yes, it is. It
right,
is.
John?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I live by that as well. Yeah. And just adding to what the two of you are saying, I think it's discovering what your patterns are. And when I help people find their purpose, and sometimes like, oh, purpose, it's such a big thing. And then they get really pressured to give me a perfect answer. But really, it's a small things that you're drawn to, the little things that you feel like time is passing by. And there's even a concept called flow. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but flow means like you just feel like you're
in the zone. You're in the zone.
You're in the zone. You know, I was looking for that word. Thank you, Sean. So you feel like you're in the zone, you're doing what you love to do, and time is just, you don't even notice the time. So that can be with the little things. You like research, you like creating, you like talking to people. That's already a clue to purpose. If you put that all together, that can define your purpose and your passion.
Yeah. So now we're going to offer a new course, John, Anda, and myself. It's called Passion, Purpose, and Patterns.
And what?
Let's copyright that today.
Yeah.
Love it. We are looking forward to that, Coach Chot, Coach John, and Coach Anda. Awesome. We are really getting so much insights from your stories alone, and indeed passion, purpose, great things take time, and follow the flow. So there is actually another interesting question for Coach Chot by Bernie Floresca. It goes, does the phenomenon of people working even more from home versus work at office also exist for some? What is the Filipino experience perception? Coach Chot?
I think it's already proven. It really depends on industry, but by and large, a lot of studies and research has already shown that a lot of people are really more productive working from home. But there are some industries where that's just not possible. I'm working with several companies now where as much as they want to, it's just not possible. They really have to be physically in the office. But the question is, what are the, going back to what Coach Anda said earlier, what are the structures that you have in place for that work from home? Have you given your people the right resources, all of everything to succeed? Do you have all the right structures, so on and so forth? So in the Philippines, speaking to some leaders that I've talked to, there are still quite a number of leaders who prefer going to office. I can think off the top of my head now, just this year alone, 2021, of 4 CEOs or GMs I've spoken to who still prefer for their people to go back to physically reporting to office. But at the same manner, I have a lot more people who are very happy with what's happening in the work from home setup. So I guess my answer there is it's really, number one, dependent on the industry. Number two is do you have the structures and the resources in place for that to happen? And by resources, I don't only mean physical, but also the personal management and leadership resources.
Very much. Thank you so much, Coach Chot. Now our second question, which is addressed to Coach Anda by Bernie Floresca. What's the best way for employees to bring suggestions to management if management style isn't open to it? Coach Anda?
Sorry, could you repeat their question again? What is the best way?
Yeah. What is the best way for employees to bring suggestions to management if management style isn't open to it? Coach Anda?
Yeah, Bernie, I'm wondering if you meant by management is not open to suggestions. Is that what you meant? If that's what you meant, though, let me give you an example of someone I've helped. So I was helping the marketing head of this company, and then she was reporting to a foreigner, French. And then she felt that she couldn't communicate or give feedback to her boss. And so what I did with her is I helped her customize her message to her boss. So you don't have to because if you give feedback and the language that you use is something that management will not be okay with, you don't have to say, hey, I'm giving feedback. You maybe can say it in some other way. You can maybe insert it in a meeting, or maybe tell them that you're noticing something. But you have to customize the way you're talking to the person that you're talking to. That's why I always say it's very important to profile that person before you're entering a meeting, especially an important meeting. And if it's someone that you're not familiar with, try to see, what have I noticed about this person before? And what is this person like? And what is this person drawn to? And then I'll use that language to communicate with that person. So even if I think if they're not open to feedback, and I'd like to say that the process I use, I think Chot and I are both certified with Marshall Goldsmith, right? So
same with John. Yeah.
John, I didn't know that. So John as well. So the three of us are certified with Marshall Goldsmith, and he uses a process called feed forward or feedback. But feed forward is a better way of saying it. But the thing is, when we give feedback, also when the leaders hear the feedback from the stakeholders or from the people that they work with, it has to also be in a way where the leaders also have to be prepared of what the kind of feedback they're receiving. So it has to be in a position of, this is to help you, this is to help the organization. So when you're giving feedback, it's positioning as that. So thinking about what is the important need of the organization? And this person that I'm talking to, what is his or her role in the organization that my feed forward or my suggestions will be able to help that person. So again, it's really boils down to how you customize your message, and then you'll be able to say it. So John and Shot, I actually use a variation already of that feed forward that Marshall Goldsmith taught us. And sometimes I give the feedback to the leader. So different variation. But be able sometimes to give the feedback to a leader, the leader can be arrogant about it, can be like, that's not me. What are you telling me? So I feel like what has really worked for me is when I say, this feedback that you're hearing, how is this gonna help you? How do you think this is gonna help you with your goals, with yourself as a leader? How important is it for you? Then they take a step back and say, oh yeah, this is gonna help me. And then they become more receptive to it. So again, use that. So in the position of how's it gonna help them, and communicate in their language.
Just have a little quick thought to throw in there. I worked with one of the hospitality companies, and there was a gap in communication between the upper management and the line level employees where they felt somewhat that they couldn't share the feedback or they couldn't express their opinions or any ideas that they had on improving the processes, improving the general service. And what I discovered that worked really well, and I believe that it's possible to find a way in. There is always one person that the upper management trusts, that they communicate with, and they're keeping an eye out on it or ear out for anything. And typically your way in is to find out what is, as Coach Anda has said, what is the language that the leadership is using. Maybe the way you're trying to express your suggestions or feedback is not the right way. Maybe you're just trying to give advice, or maybe it's perceived as an advice. And instead of trying to reach them directly right away, often there is a barrier. If it's more than one or two levels in between, it's a challenge. People might feel that they are over entitled with their positions. Maybe they are the a-hole in the company, as Coach Schultz said, maybe not. And eventually you will realize if that didn't work, or you were trying really your best, you discovered the value, there was so much value, it's time to ask yourself the hard questions. Is it really the company for you?
Yep.
Hard truth. It's what it is. You have to be honest to yourself.
And the only thing I want to add is just real talk again, guys, everyone in this call. And you're going to say, well, management doesn't want to listen. Oh, then maybe this is not the company for you. But coach, how am I going to feed my family? I need this job to feed my family. Eh, yun naman pala eh, ditiisin mo. Di ba? Yun naman pala eh, kailangan mo pala to, ditiisin mo. And I mean, that's just the hard truth. Pero tinitiis mo na rin lang, galingan mo na. John, I was saying, if you really need this, then you have to bear with it. But since you're bearing with it, then just give up your best. Because what I've learned is if you give up your best, hindi ka lugi. Every time you give up your best, you will never lose. Things might not turn out the way you like it. Things might not turn out rosy. But you will never lose every time you give of your best. You know, whatever your management or your boss thinks or does, that's out of your control.
Yeah.
The only thing you can control is what you can control is your attitude and the things that you do. So this is just real talk, especially now in this pandemic. And same thing to the leaders, di ba? Sasabihin nila, kailangan ko yung trabahong to, coach eh. Di, tiisin mo. Kailangan mo pala, tiisin mo. Pero tinitiis mo lang, galingan mo na. Tinitiis mo na rin lang eh, di ba? Right. Galingan mo na. So, I'm sorry.
I think Shot connected to the galingan mo na. Since I really love kasi that feed-forward feedback process. But guess what? It's so hard to ask for feedback, right? I mean, we teach that, but when people give us feedback, we cringe, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be so, it's like everything is peeled and we can see you. So you can see everything about it. And we have all these layers that we want to show, right? So I think my challenge actually to all of you is why don't you ask for feedback? And you know, the leaders I've asked to do this and who ask feedback from the people they work with, for the people who they were get so impressed and like, wow, they're willing to be put in the spotlight and ask for feedback. So there's more actually respect for people who want to grow, who want to be put in the spotlight, and just give it to me. Tell me what because it's hard to take sometimes. And I think that's because that's our blind spot. If we don't get to find out, sometimes we have a perception of ourselves, but if we don't get to ask other people what they think about us, that gives a better picture also. So it's good to find out, like, yeah, what others think about us, and maybe some suggestions on how we can be better as well. So that's my challenge, because that's a difficult one. But you'll see if you do that. If you do that in your family, right? You ask your wife, you ask maybe your kids, you ask your friends, you ask people at the workplace. Yeah, what's an area you should think I should work on? You'll see that you'll be a better person. You'll have a bigger perspective, and you'll be able to see yourself for the areas that you have to work on. Sorry, I just had to say that. I know it's kind of out of the topic, but it's still connected to Feed Forward, right?
And just the one thing to remind, I see so many young people in the call kasi. Remember, the young people in this call, the one thing upper management wants, one thing in the feedback is respect. Just don't forget that. Just be very respectful. Sometimes we have the tendency to come in, I'm the hotshot, new blood. I have all this new technology. I know it all. And yun lang, just make sure that you're very respectful. That's the one thing that in your feedback, you have to remember.
Wow, amazing. There are so many light bulb moments. Thank you so much, Coach Chot, Coach Anda, and Coach John. Actually, as much as we want to keep on listening to them because there are so many light bulb moments, I myself, want to listen to them all night, overnight, if we can only do it, right? But it's already 8:30, so I think it is but time to end this with if you can actually share, where can they reach you if they have any more questions or further feed forward moments for you, Coach John, Coach Chot, and Coach Anda. Please do the honors.
Sure.
Well, can they keep in touch with you?
LinkedIn. Just connect on LinkedIn. Follow me on LinkedIn or send me an email at info@relax.ph. It's as simple as that. info@relax.ph, or connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to answer all the other questions that you posted already and continue the conversation outside of this place.
Awesome. Thank you.
I love your email, John. Relax. So, with me, you can connect with me at Coach Anda Goseco, GOSECO, Coach Anda Goseco @gmail.com. And you can also connect with me on LinkedIn as well. And so I love questions, I really do. So if you feel like after this, I'm sure like you have some light bulb moments and then you're thinking about it, you have more questions, just throw them in. Ask me, John, and Chot anytime. And we'll be able to willingly help you with those questions.
Look out for our PPP program. For me, same thing on LinkedIn, and I type on the chat box I type my email address on the chat box, coach@chotreyes.com. Thank you very much.
Nice, thank you so much. Why don't we give them a round of applause, please? Everybody, actually a standing ovation even, right? Awesome. Thank you so much. Well done, coaches John Darvich, Anda Goseco, and Coach Chot Reyes. Now, I'd like to return back the floor to the Queen of LinkedIn Philippines. It's such an honor to be moderating this LinkedIn Local Philippines meetup tonight. This has been Casey Reyes, and I'm now returning the floor to Miss Virginia Bautista.
Thank you so much, everyone. I was listening. I have like 3 pages of notes. Thank you so much for the insights. And to everyone, please connect with each other on LinkedIn. Let's continue the conversation. I see that there are still questions that we were not able to answer. Let's continue our conversation on LinkedIn. And don't forget, passion, purpose, pattern. Thank you so much. Good night, everyone. That's all for us. Till the next LinkedIn Local Philippines event. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Anda. Nice seeing you.
Nice seeing you. Nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Shout out to Jeff, Sancho, guys in there.
Bye.